I wanted to talk about a few things that the TV shows don't tell you about being a real estate broker. Number one, showing homes. On a lot of those TV shows, the real estate broker and the client meet for the first time in a coffee shop and they say, you're looking for this and this and this and this is the budget, let's go! And typically it doesn't work that fast. The way that I like to do it is to meet with you, find out exactly what you're looking for, find out how we can help that line up. I usually have you meet with a lender first so we get all your financing in order, so when we find the home for you, we're ready to make an offer fast. It's not usually 3 houses, boom, 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 right nicely in a row, and then you pick one of the 3 options. A lot of effort and energy that goes into finding the homes to show. There's a lot of scheduling and back and forth that goes involved, and you might not see 3 houses on a Saturday. It might be one on Monday and one on Tuesday and one on Thursday in the morning. Or maybe you go to an open house on your own because you just drove by it and you're curious what that neighborhood's like. It's not as formulaic as the TV makes it seem. Number 2. This is related to those home renovation shows where they walk into the house and, oh, there's this major disaster, and, oh, we can't move this wall, and, oh, there's this huge plumbing leak, or, oh, there's mold. And although that's absolutely true, especially if you start doing remodels, there's no way to know what's behind some of those walls. But for the most part, I recommend that all buyers that I work with have an inspection done on the property to avoid just those sorts of surprises. A lot of older homes that we work with in this area have quirks or maintenance issues from, being around for 100+ years. And that's normal, but the things we're looking for are major safety concerns, anything that might be a major problem like foundation issues, roof issues, structural issues, those sorts of things, because we don't want you to walk into a house and have this huge, major, unexpected problem. And to be fair, a lot of those especially like the flip and fix sort of TV shows, are buying the houses either sight unseen or at auction or something like that doesn't allow them to have an inspection. But I like to advise all of my buyers to have an inspection done on the house because it does help bring up a lot of those potential issues that might be in the home that you wouldn't see normally. Number 3, let's talk about negotiations. So typically in the show, it's one phone call of, my buyers are willing to offer this price. Great, I'm going to tell them. And then the agent shows up in a coffee shop and says, woohoo, congratulations, you bought the house. It's not that simple. There's 4 potential areas of negotiation in a transaction. One would be before the offer is even written. As a broker representing the buyer, I might call the listing broker before we write an offer, see if there's anything that might sweeten the deal for the sellers. For example, do they have another house lined up? Would they like a long closing date so they can search for their next home? Do they have a date they need to be out of the house and they want to close before that? Would they rather have, this versus that? And it allows us to have that conversation before we even write the offer so we can already put ourselves in a good position before we even get to the negotiating table. The second time, which is what people mostly think of as negotiation, is if the seller and the buyer are trying to get mutual acceptance on a property. The seller might say, I want more money, or I want this closing date, or I want to change to this and this and this. The buyer can accept or counteroffer, and it goes back and forth like that sometimes. Another time that negotiations come into play is after an inspection is held. If there are major repairs, like I was mentioning, like a big foundation issue, a big septic tank or sewer issue, major safety concerns, those sorts of things, then that opens up negotiations again. The buyer can ask the seller to repair them. The buyer can ask for money back. Or if the buyer is really freaked out by the whole thing and it's too much work and the seller's not willing to work with them, the buyer can walk away and say, it's too much, I don't want it. And number 4, another area that I think TV shows really underestimate is how legal being a real estate agent is. There are so many legal boundaries. Real estate is very contract heavy, and it's my job as a broker to help you decide which are the right forms we need to fill out, make sure those forms are filled out correctly, and adhere to all of the timelines, all of the delivery dates, all of the transaction record keeping processes, all of these steps that are required in being a real estate broker that are rarely ever mentioned. There's a lot of tracking and managing involved. In Washington, it's not typically just me. So if I'm acting as an individual broker, I'm communicating with your lender, if you have one, the cooperating broker. So if I'm representing the buyer, then I'm talking to the listing broker. There's also the title and escrow company. So that's usually split into at least 2 different people, one title rep and one escrow officer that I'm in communication with. And then if the lender's involved, I might be talking to the appraiser, and there's all these other people that it's my job to help keep those pieces moving. I think that's another thing that on TV shows it looks like the real estate agent does it all, hands over the paperwork and the keys, and that's it. But really it takes a whole team approach to get anything done in real estate. If you have questions about how real estate works, let me know. I can help you make the right move. My name is Erin Wyatt, and I'm with John L. Scott Real Estate. You can find me online at yourtacomahome.com and on social channels at yourtacomahome.